G'day. First things first, despite disagreeing with a lot of the ideas and how they're presented in this video, I do agree that sometimes a game is very much a downgrade of what came before. Most notably for me would be something like Battlefield 2042, a game that I only found enjoyable when playing the Portal mode, a mode that allowed the rule set and gameplay of older titles. There's a lot to be said about the AAA space as a whole, which I'll talk about a little later. Maybe you've heard some variation of the sentiment that games are not as good as they used to be. My reaction when hearing this is almost always that of confusion, because I look at some of the incredible games I've played in the last couple of years, and I think to myself, are these games actually worse than everything from 20 plus years ago? The short answer is, it depends, and there should be nuance involved when talking about it. But unfortunately, the landscape is ripe for people fishing for clicks and relying on the nostalgia of the whole back in my day mentality. Don't get me wrong, I am all for looking back fondly at the general gaming landscape while we're forced to watch companies make obscene amounts of money through scummy microtransactions. But I think some people are too quick to generalize a lot of modern games as if a standout game from 2000 being better than a shit game from the 2020s is some sort of gotcha or proof that the industry is evolving backwards. The other day I had a video recommended to me which I thought would be interesting. It was Modern versus Old Games Lost Technology Edition. I figured it might have been a showcase of teams failing to capture what made earlier entries in their own series special. Examples like that exist, but not for the whole video. It's a collection of comparisons using games from entirely different genres, or if they manage to show two games from the same genre, it's two different series entirely, like when they compare the damage modeling of Gran Turismo 7 to Forza 4. I'll run you through some examples because I find this to be quite dishonest. And sorry for the birds that you're probably going to hear in the background. Keep in mind as well that a lot of the arguments being made are actually undermined by the uploader themselves when they show modern games pushing certain tech forward at the end of their own video. First up is a comparison between a co-op action shooter with no stealth elements to a stealth-focused action game. You could say Helldivers 2 has stealth in that line of sight is a thing, and you can use cover to avoid patrols, but it's not a stealth game. So why would Arrowhead code in a bunch of gameplay elements that have nothing to do with their gameplay design, and then why would you then say it's a lost technology just because a game that's not trying to be a stealth game doesn't have elements you would expect of a stealth game? AI self-preservation is shown off using Fear in Black Ops 6. Call of Duty is known specifically for having super scripted and really linear design, and it's just simply not made with the kind of AI that Fear has. It wants to be this big set piece thing and completely accessible by all ages. I personally wish COD games would actually put effort into that department, but it's not like no modern games aren't creating interesting encounters with engaging AI that aren't just standing in the open waiting to be killed. Just look at The Last of Us 2 as an example. The Stalker AI section seems to just showcase trapping an enemy on some objects and then moving back and forth to avoid them. That's not something that's only in modern games. I remember doing that shit in games when I was a kid. The reason it doesn't work in Alien Isolation isn't because of some super advanced AI system that doesn't exist anymore, although that game specifically does have great scripting and really cool AI. It's because the Xenomorph can literally sprint. You're not going to be able to do this same thing to Nemesis on the highest difficulty of Resident Evil 3 because he also will sprint at you. Building destruction is shown off between Red Faction Guerrilla and Helldivers 2. Helldivers has some buildings that can be destroyed with heavier ordnance, but doesn't have the smaller details of building destruction that Red Faction does. I find it strange because Helldivers does actually have some great terrain deformation. An area can be completely obliterated on your own, let alone with 4 people dropping bombs and whatever else. It's also a shame because Helldivers has a lot of great details with its animations, weapon feedback, and the sense of weight with those weapons, among other things. But that gets thrown away so we can see complaints that it's not using the same destruction tech as a completely different game. Modern games exist with the kind of destruction like Red Faction had, a point that the uploader makes themselves later by showing off the finals. You've even got games like Teardown or Instruments of Destruction. If you want some really impressive destruction for cars, check out some videos on BeamNG. They look incredible. Using Helldivers for this example is dishonest at best. Reflections are shown off, and I admit I do notice and dislike when games use those weird smudged textures instead of proper reflections, but it's not every game. It's not a lost technology either when IO Interactive have brilliant reflections in their Hitman World of Assassination trilogy. The uploader wants Hitman 2's upgraded reflections to be classed as technology from an old game, but this trilogy couldn't be more part of modern games if it tried, given its live service elements where unlocks can't even be made without it talking to a server. Fluid Dynamics is next with a showing of Hydrophobia and its purpose-built engine. But you have to spend so much time and money on making this work. Dark Energy Digital took 3 years to make theirs, and all for a game that maybe sold 50,000 units or thereabouts, and the studio doesn't even exist anymore. I guess in that regard it literally is a lost technology, but the lack of any games that have at least matched the water in this game is not indicative of any problem with modern games. No game has done it full stop because it was incredibly costly, took a long time to do, and is very taxing in terms of performance. You've got the year of release right here in the video, 2010. So if up until 2018 apparently counts as the old games period, as soon as the clock ticked over to 2020, were developers supposed to somehow have the technology and know-how to just put in an incredibly realistic volumetric water system? You've got to also think about the purpose that it serves in a game. Is there any game that devs were thinking about making where this volumetric water would actually serve a purpose? Because that's why Hydrophobia exists. It's showing off this water tech, and they also built a game around it. I don't think developing this tech is going to have much use in a random shooter like Doom the Dark Ages, or some indie game like Mouthwashing. Water ripples are non-existent in Dying Light 2, but are there in Crysis 3. To be fair though, Dying Light 2 was actually released unfinished, so ripples not being present were the least of its issues. Red Dead Redemption 2 has brilliant water, and I'm sure Rockstar's near infinite development budget will have us gawking at ridiculously gorgeous details in GTA 6. Quality for water will vary greatly across games, of course. Not as pretty as Crysis, but I quite like how the water in Grounded reacts when you throw items into it. I don't think every game's water necessarily has to be Crysis 3 as a minimum anyway. Sometimes it's all about using the right technique. Half-Life Alyx is going to have the best looking bottles of fluid for a long time to come, and it's not even using an actual volumetric liquid. Even something like Friendly Fire is somehow viewed as a lost technology when it's a design choice to allow it or not. Some games have it, some don't. As fun as it is to beat on the mopey dude at Firelink Shrine, I'm not going to cry that gaming is doomed when I can't do the same in Sekiro. Like I said at the start, I don't disagree with some of the issues people have with things that have come about in the industry, usually regarding modern AAA games specifically. Not only are there genuine examples where games are seemingly made without any soul, it's also hard to not view the gaming industry in a negative light. You've got mass layoffs whilst companies report record profits, games that are way over budget because shareholders are allergic to just making something smaller scale. Then you've got the scourge that is live service. I do play and enjoy some live service games, but I won't turn a blind eye to how badly games like Fortnite or Counter-Strike have fucked the industry with just the levels of money that they're making from microtransactions. Assuming a person genuinely holds the belief that games were better back in the day, and they're not perhaps holding on to fond childhood memories and want a simple life again, all I have to say is for you to simply ignore the AAA space. Because I think that's the issue most of the time. A person whinging about how gaming isn't the same as it used to be could be the kind of person that only buys COD every year and maybe one or two other AAA titles. There are AA and indie games out there that are unlike anything else on the market. Games like Clair Obscur, Outer Wilds, Cuphead, Deep Rock Galactic, Dwarf Fortress, Parking Garage Rally Circuit. That last game I'll keep bringing up until I see confirmation it's sold 1 million copies. There are so many amazing titles that range from fun to life-changing. Some older games do hold up in many ways, but you won't see these channels actually discuss what they think does or doesn't work in those older titles. Do you think they're going to grab footage of Silent Hill 3 to show off the incredible environments that look fucking wonderful today and the amazing character models and how detailed they are for a game that old, and just gush in general about how brilliant it looks? No, they'd be the type of channels that would grab that footage and then grab a game using a completely different art style and say how photorealism has gone backwards. That seems to be the kind of arguments that I'm hearing about in some of these videos. It's all about framing a particular message and generating clicks from it. Tell me with a straight face that Luke Roberts' performance as James in the Silent Hill 2 remake is worse than this.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
There are simply too many great games out there, and thinking we had more of them 20 plus years ago, when the amount of games releasing was much lower and the indie scene didn't exist like it does today, you're delulu, as the kids say. Go play some indie games. Go play Outer Wilds if you haven't, because it's literally the greatest game of all time. Stop spending money on microtransactions in battle royales and buy yourself Clair Obscur because it's a fucking masterpiece. Stop asking why we don't get 2 to 4 10 out of 10 AAA titles every month when Balatro is right there waiting to sink its teeth into you. Maybe there's a genre you tend to ignore that has some terrific games just waiting for you. I used to despise almost all games with turn-based combat, and then I played and enjoyed Persona 4 Golden, and that opened me up to the genre more. There's definitely some unfortunate shit happening in the industry, but for the games that do manage to get released, a ton of them are really great. In terms of looking for something good to play, it's not as bleak as channels or videos like these make it out to be. Until the next video, have a good one.